So in looking for high mountaintops as reference for my composite, I liked the weird shape of this, the little bridge. So I don't download this image because this is just a thumbnail and won't be high enough resolution. Instead, I'm going to open this in a new tab to see it. It gives me this. And then I say free download, and I get the highest resolution option. To do that, I do need to sign in. Now, in the image, there are some people. So realize the limitations of what you use. You're going to be cutting things out, seaming them with other things. So I want more than just this one mountain. I might want some other examples. This one's pretty good, but it's got what's called atmospheric perspective, which is actually quite nice. But with this one, which is really highly contrasted, I like the weird kind of alien angle that it's at. So there's just different issues when you composite together, but we're going to be able to control things like the color, the lighting, how much atmosphere there is, how in focus it is. And when you download them, they're going to go to your downloads folder. And it's always great to have a lot of overlap. And you can spend a lot of time looking at options. Let's see. And when you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see how many pages. There's 51 pages of high mountains. I'm just keeping my sketch in mind. So I want some foothills in front of the high mountains. Kind of like this, but there's just a whole lot of green in that one. This one looks promising. This one is really alien looking too. So our requirements for this project are to seam at least 5 together, but we're likely going to have more than that, and definitely get more options than you think you might need. So I download a lot, and then I'll have kind of favorites. And so they'll go to my downloads folder. And then I've created an assignment 1 folder. And then within that, I've started to separate out the different areas my sketch has identified that I need, like high mountains. And now I'm going to take these and organize them. So I've created kind of 5 categories, right? I have tall tree trunks, hillside, plants, rocks, bushes, that kind of thing. And then setting sun, and then the tall mountains. So now I want to go into each of these and maybe identify the ones I'm most excited about using. And sometimes I need to look a little bit closer at them. I like the texture on this tree trunk a lot. Its perspective makes it look alien, and I could cut that out. But it doesn't have where it hits the ground, and that can be a big problem in trying to integrate it with a landscape because I want that in my middle ground, not my foreground. But it might be a good foreground element. So I'm going to make it a maybe, a yellow. Now this tree, it's already like a really prominent element in the middle ground, even though it will be difficult to cut out, and it's already got some ground elements that I can overlap with and merge with. So I think this is my favorite. I can play with the lighting, I can play with the coloring, so I'm going to make that green. And then this is just some really interesting kind of foreground texture that looks kind of alien. And it has the benefit of being shot against a white sky, which makes it really easy to cut out at high resolution. So I'm going to mark that with yellow. And then these other two, they're cool, but they're either a little too hard to cut out or not lit particularly well or just too kind of typical. So I'm not even going to really think about those unless I have to. So I got my tree trunk. My setting sun, I just found this while looking for hillsides, and I'm not going to overcomplicate it. So I'm going to use that. I like the atmosphere. I like the clarity of the sky. It means I can always add clouds in or do something else. So that one's done. I got my setting sun. I have to flip it to the other side. But these are all things we can do with compositing. For my hillside, this one's a little trickier. Lots of good options. I like the foreground already built into this one. So I'm leaning towards that as my favorite. And then I might use this to augment it because of just how alien and different those look. And so this is where your personal taste really comes in, because a lot of these could make really fascinating landscapes. I like the dry creek bed here, but it kind of controls too much of the composition. And all of that tree canopy would be really hard to erase completely. And then here we have some nice standing water, which could be great for a background. Maybe that's even what I want to use. I just want to be mindful that water reflects, right? So if you have clear standing water like this, you're going to want to put reflections in it. And I haven't done that as a demo in a while, so maybe that's a good one. And I might seam all three of those together. You know, there's a lot of middle ground to play with. So for foreground rocks, I think this is the most promising one. It's nice and sharp. We got those bushes. And you can slave over all of your options. I just love these high mountains, just how strange those are in the far distance. And then I would like to try to incorporate this weird bridge. Though the snow makes that a little tricky, I might be able to make it work. So many nice things. Maybe this for a really far background. Now sometimes you'll get like the hills and the background mountains and everything together, and all I would need to do is plop a tree there, plop a foreground thing here. But that's not the best kind of fantasy landscape, because that's just using one image as kind of your sticker sheet or your background and then just putting little stickers on it. And instead we really want to construct this based on our sketch vision. And that way we feel more ownership of it and more control of it. So the next step is to set it up, to bring in your reference. So I'm going to open up my sketch. And I just did my sketch on an index card. And so first you have to get it into your computer. And this is how I did it. I used my FaceTime app. I made it pretty large on the screen. I held up my sketch, which is reversed. I hold down Command-Shift-4 to get a targeted screen grab, and I draw a box around my sketch. Then I need to flip it. So I open it up, it will open up in preview. And it's kind of interesting to do this because you want to see if your landscape still works. Foreground, middle ground, background, even if it's flipped horizontally, mirror image. And it does work, but I think it works a little bit more naturally if my foreground element's on the left side rather than the right side. This is a cultural thing. That's because in the West, in Western left to right reading countries, we basically default view images by looking at the upper left-hand corner and then working down to the lower right-hand corner. So we always leave an image through the lower right-hand corner. And so if you have anything that's too much of a focal point in the lower right-hand corner, it can drag you out of the image a little bit too quickly with your eye line. So let me flip it. So I go to Tools, and I'm going to say Flip Horizontal. This is using Preview. I can also go to Tools and adjust the color, just as long as it's pretty clear and visible. And I can adjust the levels, take out some of the saturation, sharpen it a little bit, because it's just a screen grab. And now that I have that, I don't need all my notes. But it's good to kind of be able to look at that on my index card when I need to. Now I'm going to open that up with Photoshop. You can sketch digitally too. It doesn't matter what size or resolution it is because we're going to force it to be the print resolution that we want. All right, so let me clean this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop it using the crop tool with the ratios cleared in the options and just get close to the edges that I want for my sketch. Hit return. That will get rid of all your little notes. And then I'm going to go to image size. I'm going to make sure that resample is checked so that I can change the pixel dimensions. And I want this to be at least 8 by 10 inches by 300 pixels per inch. That's always our bottom recommendation because that's basic print quality. 8 by 10 by 300. But because I got Pixabay references that are bigger, and this is what I'm going to recommend, I think I can do this at 14 inches wide. So more of an 11 by 14 format by 350 pixels per inch. And I'll even push that a little bit higher. I'll change the height to actually 11 so that it's at least 11 by 14 by 350 pixels per inch. I call 350 pixels per inch our lab resolution because when I do things professionally, I do them at that resolution so that at the end they can always be enlarged a little bit without losing quality. This actually allows us, if it's 11 by 14 or bigger by 350, it allows us to print up to 16 by 20 in the lab. So that really uses the lab fully, as long as our resolution supports that. And I'll show you how you can tell. So obviously that took my screen resolution sketch and really made it blurry, but that's fine because this is just a blueprint for what's coming. So I hit Command-0 to fit it on the screen. Wish I could get a little bit more screen real estate here for you. All right, now I need space to work. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new blank layer. And I'm going to move that blank layer behind my sketch. And then I'm going to increase the size around my sketch. Because if you were going to work on a collage at home and you have a sketch for it, you would need places to put all your cutouts, on your desk before you glue them down. So I'm now going to go to Image Canvas Size, and this will grow the space around. And I'm going to do 40 inches wide by 30 inches tall.